Everybody wants something this week. Can I order it on Monday and have it by Friday? The price for Friday. You can say yes now, which is incredible. Right? The idea with the Printify Express here is that, and it also makes it more difficult for people who want to steal your design because what's up, and good morning, folks. Jay here, coming to you live from Belize. I've always just wanted to say that, so now it's rolling off the tongue pretty nicely, My first recording here in Belize, and I just wanted to bring you guys probably the best design tip I can give you right now in the middle of Q4 to kind of mitigate some of the feedback that you might get from customers that are a little too finicky, things like that. And that is by way of distressing your designs, right? So there's a really good way to do that, and there's a way you can do it without having any pixelated edges or anything like that. And I just wanted to show you what I think is the easiest way to do that. Nice thing about distressing your designs is that you see like a lot of people using the same kind of elements and stuff and different things for the fall season and the Christmas stuff, all the retro stuff. But like if it was truly vintage or truly retro, what better effect to put on it than a distressed or grunge look, right? So it's got like, a little bit of distressing in the design, makes it look a little more vintagey and worn already. That's kind of the look, right? And everybody's kind of leaning towards the comfort colors now, which kind of have that same idea on the shirt itself. It looks worn, it looks used, not brand new. Ultimately, you only need three things to make this happen. You need the design itself, of course, you need the grunge texture or effect, and you need a program to, make this all happen. So in this case, we're going to be doing Adobe Illustrator and Adobe Photoshop. These are my two go-tos. So without further ado, Creative Fabrica is my resource for fonts. They have an endless amount, and with their all access pass, you get, works out to $4.99 a month. It's $59.88 a year, cheaper than the $350 a year. You can get unlimited downloads for all the fonts you want. So for me, it's a no-brainer. And they're, you can use them for commercial use, and personal, commercial, and POD use of files are included. You just have to make sure you're following their terms of use and how you use them for commercial use. So what that means is usually with Creative Fabrica, you're going to want to use elements of designs to create your own design, but not just downloading and uploading the exact design, right? So, but for all intents and purposes, I'm just going to show you how to do this effect really quickly. I mean, this is crazy, $1 download, but they're unlimited free downloads for this $4.99 a month. So I've already downloaded this, and then I've gone through and searched for distressed grunge textures here. So this is the element that I've decided to download here, and I picked this one because it's got an EPS in here, which is a vector, which is also, it's got the SVG, which you can't really see under here, but SVG and EPS, these are the two here that matter to me most, because dealing with vectors means you're dealing with sharp, crisp lines. And so I'm just going to download that, and then we'll open these in Illustrator. I search for a vintage style Christmassy design, and this is what I decided to choose from Creative Fabrica. And then this tab here is the grunge effect, and I'm going to Shift Command D, allows you to remove the background so you can see like the checkerboard in behind here. And this is what it looks like. So like you can see the background through it, which is exactly what you want. So I would typically have designed this in Illustrator here, and you can see that, you've got your Christmas tree elements, pieces of the car, stuff. Like you can draw this all out. For our intents purposes, we're going to say that we've already skipped that process and created this design. So I'll just Command A to select everything, Command C, and I just go paste it in Photoshop, and I will create an artboard here, and my merge settings are 15 inches wide by 18 inches high at 300 TPI or PPI, which if we translate that is 4,500 by 5,400 pixels. I use these dimensions because back when I started with Merch by Amazon 6-7 years ago, that was the default. So every design you did had to be in those kind of parameters. But it turns out that really a great baseline for every art platform out there or print on demand platform out there anyway. So you want to make sure you're filling the space also, because for example, on Printify, all the printers they use will scale artwork down, but not up. And out of tens of thousands of sales, over 100,000 sales, had 3 people complain about the design being too big on the shirt. So that to me is a non-issue. Everyone, seems to be a little hesitant about what if my design is too big on the shirt. Good chance it's not going to be. You want the design as big as possible to stand out. But that said, yeah, I'm just going to cancel that because I've created my artboard already. And all you do is Command V to paste. None of this really matters here because we're pasting a vector, so it renders it in Photoshop as soon as you paste it. And if I hold down Option here, you can just drag and drop and it does it. It conforms it. If I don't hold Option, for example, it pulls it to whatever side we're doing. And if we hold Option, pull that out, snaps to, I'll hit return there, and then we'll go get our distressed element. And I want to make this stand out a little bit. And this is our grunge texture here. And what we want to do is make sure that we make it a color that is completely different from anything in this artwork right now, and something that stands out and makes it easy to kind of spot and select. And you'll understand why in a minute. So magenta traditionally has been used as for guidelines and stuff like that. So it's just an old habit for me that dies hard and is usually not in any of my designs. So I'll stick with a magenta. And you can see here that it's, it's bright here, but not as bright here. It's because we're using a CMYK display right here. So it's more accurate of representation of how our product will be printed, even though when you upload that PNG file, it is RGB. It'll print again in CMYK. So that said, we've got our distressing effect here. So I'm just going to copy this. So with this direct selection tool, you just grab this and Command C again. And we'll go to Photoshop and just paste it on top. And it doesn't really matter if you pick the layer smart object, doesn't matter, because it will create a new layer here. You'll see that here. So as soon as I hit OK, it plops it on a layer on top of that layer. And you can rotate this here. If you hover away from that selection point there and hold Shift, it'll do it in 30-degree or 15-degree increments. You can see where my mouse is there. It's showing 15, whatever. But if you let go of Shift, you can kind of freeform it. So all we need to do is make sure it covers our design. So again, I'm going to hold Option down and click and drag. So now it's covering most of the design to make this look a little more distressed. And what I want to do is make sure that it's not covering up too much of the wording that will be important to read. So make sure that, some of this big stuff here isn't covering all the letters. And it looks like that'll be legible from distance. And what I call the 6-foot distance is how far away you should be standing from a person or from the t-shirt when you want to be able to read it, right? So you're never going to be up close. You're never going to notice these any minute details that a lot of people complain about unless you're literally like 12 inches away from their shirt. So that said, I just hit return, it places it. And then what we want to do here is combine these two layers. So you just shift click and then Command E flattens the layers. I can show you here layer. Command E is merge down. So what we did was merge these two layers. So now they're one piece, and I can show you if I was to move this around, it all moves as one piece. And now that it's one layer, all you got to do is delete the distressing and it will leave holes in the design exactly how we wanted this, intended effect to work. And the reason I use a vector is because look how crisp these lines are when you zoom in. I'm at 600%, right? So it doesn't have to be zoomed in that far. All we have to do is select some of our magenta here. So I'll just select that and I'll select similar. And now it's going to pick all the similar color, which is the magenta. And then all we do is hit delete. And now actually you can see that it's gone, but I'll Command Z that so that we've got our magenta selected so you can see this. And now I just hit delete and it's gone, and that's it. So our design is now officially distressed. So I can click off this now and you can see what I'm talking about. If we go on the bottom layer and I was to pick a different color, for example, just pick a bright yellow. And then we can paint bucket this layer. You can see what I'm talking about. So the yellow shows through on the distressing. That's effectively what the shirt color is going to be behind the design. So that's what you want to have actually visible. And then the last thing I'll do here is crop it. So I'll drag that down. I've got under view, I've got snap on, which is kind of nice because then it just snaps to wherever the elements are. You can see it kind of like if I pull apart and then snap, you can see it kind of like sucks it to the edge there. So I'll just do that and click return. And now we've got our design. It feels like our part. There's no extra white space or anything around. And then I'll hit Option Command S, which saves it as a copy on my computer. I will select PNG file and we'll make it red Xmas truck and save. So it's saving to my desktop, red Christmas truck. We'll click large file and that's done. So that'll be on my desktop now. And there you can see it here. So I'll just go to Printify now and we will create a new product. I'll go men's t-shirts because that's what I sell the most of. And this, you'll notice here that these pop up. I've got these two favorited because they're 2 out of 3. This is my third, is the Gildan Soft Style. The express delivery here is a game changer. You guys know I sell a lot of birthday stuff, but everybody wants something this week. Can I order it on Monday and have it by Friday? The party's Saturday morning or whatever, party's Friday. You can say yes now, which is incredible. The idea with the Printify Express here is that express delivery is that the order is intended to, from the time you place it to the time it's in the customer hands, take no more than 2 to 3 business days. So if you submitted an order on a Monday, it should be in their hand by the Wednesday or Thursday at the latest if it was a Monday evening, right? This is a game changer because now we've just given us basically, an extra week's worth of selling at Christmas time. Like you can say yes to the customer about having it get there in their hands in time for Christmas. But that said, I'll leave my link down below that you guys can check out for discounted Printify Premium. So I'll just pick this one for today. It's got the express delivery option and a variety of colors, so show all. So now I like to sort by production time. A lot of people like to sort by this, star rating here and price, but I go for production time first. It's worth a little bit extra dollars out of my pocket if I can make sure that it gets to them as quick as possible. So, you got underground threads here looking like they're under a day. Same with Monster Digital here. I don't always rely on this too much because it's not a static number. These numbers are great in terms of if you're spending so much on sample products for yourself to check and then you're scrutinizing them at, the 12-inch mark. It's just unnecessary. Like, trust this, I would say. And as long as your design looks good from that 6-foot range, like I was mentioning before, that's all that matters, right? No one's going to be up close and looking, 12 inches away. So I'll pick Monster Digital here. And all I'm doing is drag and dropping my design from there right onto here. And that's all that is to it. So I'll just move this to the top, maybe bring it down by 3 or 4%. Let's go 3. So it's not quite at the top. This neckline here is supposed to be 2 inches from the collar, give or take. I always say give or take because there's a manual process when they're putting the shirt on the platen, so it may not be exactly precise, but I like to give myself a little bit of leeway, depending on the design. If the design, of course, was longer and filled the entire box from a height perspective, then, it is what it is, right? I'll just leave it where it is. But now I can show you, if we click black, you can see the black distressing showing through here. I can just zoom in on this so you can see what I'm talking about. If we were to select, I won't do black because you can't see the lines here, but if we were to select a heather blue, or let's go with some Christmassy colors, that's a nice looking color there. It's Christmas. Everybody can see the design. Also, there's yellow. It shows up nice on them. But yeah, you guys get the idea. So I'll just leave it white for now and then save product. This is where it takes you to all your mock-up options that you want to have pushed to Etsy or wherever you're selling to. And I'll typically change this to what my naming convention would have been. In this case, it's Red Xmas, but I'll call it 001. So I'll typically have this naming convention like 001, 002, 003. It makes everything so much easier. And I put that in my titles of my Etsy listing. So it makes everything easier that you can see to just pop up when you're searching for your designs in Printify to add, or your hard drive, or wherever you keep your designs stored, right? And then I'll just save as a draft. That way I have to select it as the orders come in. And then if we go down here and I choose Express, this is telling me that 12 out of 18 variants are not eligible for Express. Totally fine. Colors that are eligible for Express are black, white, sport gray, and maybe dark heather or navy. That is fine. I'll remove these. It's just so that I can show you how this works. So one color, it'll be the white. Shipping cost change, got it. So the shipping cost is $7.99 as opposed to the $4.99 or $4.75. So you're talking like 3 1/4 more for having it, that express production option. It's just insane. But I'll save this as draft. And that's pretty much all there is to it. You can see now that the delivery option is express here. I typically sell most of my shirts on black. So for me, the express option is just right. But if you want to add other colors, just know that you can't always have those shipped express. So you might want to create a secondary listing or a duplicate listing that you only have express on or express availability on. And then you can add in your shipping profiles in Etsy, a separate shipping profile for those particular listings that enable the customer to select that express shipping, if that makes sense. So I'll do another video on how to create your shipping profiles, because it seems like that's another one of the big questions that keep popping up in my Etsy group, along with this one, right? Was one of the easiest ways to do it. Best thing about distressing your designs is that when the prints are not absolutely perfect, so when we're talking about printing on a hoodie or a Christmas sweater, like especially this time of year, the ugly Christmas sweaters, the sweater wasn't pressed all the way first prior to printing, prior to pre-treating. Sometimes those fibers kind of stick up and impede the print process. So then what happens is when somebody goes to let roll it or something like that, you'll see all those imperfections, or after a wash, you'll see all those tiny imperfections in the design, and it just won't look as awesome as it should. So if you add an element of grunge or distressing to it intentionally, it definitely makes those imperfections less noticeable, makes the design look like it was, intended to be, that vintage distress look. Plus with the vintage designs that we're seeing all the time, like all those the ghosts that people were doing at Halloween and stuff, and like those 50s looking mascots, the only thing missing from all of those designs to stand out was like adding the distressed element, right? Changing some colors and like bringing a new aesthetic to an existing kind of hot design style. So the other thing that distressing does do is, like, if you have a design and then you see that white kind of poking out from behind the design on the edges of your design elements, that happens when the registration is off. So that's It's what's called registration when two layers of ink line up. So you've got your white and then they put a color on top of the white underbase. And that is because the CMYK colors of the printer are translucent. So they won't actually show up very well on the dark colors. They'll show up on white, but not on any other color underneath. They kind of take on that sort of the same way that the blue and yellow of the Ziploc bag turns green, right? But when it comes to the Christmas sweaters, you have to have that under there for the color to stand out. And typically on the Platin, they will lower it so it's further away from the print head to allow thickness of the garment. So it basically has to be pushed down a little bit, and that can send things out of alignment a little bit. There's a lot of manual processes, involved in the whole thing anyway. So it just helps to mitigate any potential design blemishes or imperfections. So distressing for me is an all-around way to go. And it also makes it more difficult for people who want to steal your design, because then when they rip something off, it's usually a little pixelated and it'll look extra terrible or blurry if they try to, steal one of your distressed designs. So it just won't look nearly as good anyway. But yeah, that's it for this one. Come join my Facebook group down below. Please like and subscribe if this has helped you at all. And I can't wait to do more designs. I think the next one I'm going to do is how to mask something. So when you see a word and you have a design in behind it, that's what we're going to do next. All right. So stick around. Make sure you like and sub down there so you get notified when I drop that video.